Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. So, over the last few months, I've had a couple people ask me if I would do a garage tour of all the bikes I have, stuff I've worked on over the last year since I started this channel. And I figured now would be a good time to do that because, as you can see, I have two and a half bikes torn apart in my workspace here. I'm actually getting suspension, the shocks revalved on my 2001 XR 400 and also on my 2005 XR 650R. So these are going to be down for the next week, 2 weeks probably, taking up all the space here. So I figured that'd be a good time to put together a little compilation video of the bikes I have, bikes I've worked on, stuff I've sold, stuff I still have, pretty much everything that I've had and run through the garage here. So let's get into it. Hope you guys enjoy. First bike up on the list is going to be my 1998 XR 400 that I picked up back in July of 1999. I actually got it on my 19th birthday, and it was a year old at that point when I got it, but the gentleman that owned it before me pretty much just rode it up and down the road in his backyard, so it had very little hours on it. So since I've had this bike, I've done hair scrambles with it, been on some crazy rides, some really good memorable rides with friends and stuff, so this one I'll probably never get rid of. But just recently, though, this one had some major frame rot repair that a good friend of mine was able to fix up for me and keep it going, keep it alive. Because at that point, the frame was so rotten, I was considering looking for another donor bike to move all the stuff over to because it was pretty bad. But luckily, he was able to save it. And this one has some modifications done to it with all the Gordon mods. I have a video dedicated to that, just all the stuff that was done to it. And it's been a great bike, and it's pretty much my go-to bike when I don't have to get on the road at all. So, yeah, my 98 is probably my favorite all-around bike. And that's going to lead me into this bike here, which is my 2001 XR 400. Picked it up a couple years ago while the 98 was torn down because I wasn't sure if the frame was going to be fixable at that point. So this one came up locally on Craigslist, and bone stock, barely any hours on it. The guy just rode it around his field up and down the road with his kids, and it still had the original tires on it, believe it or not. The rear was pretty worn down, but it was still the original tire. So I jumped on that. First thing I did was the basic Gordon mods, uncorked it, rejetted it, all that stuff. So that's all done. I put the Tusk Dual Sport kit on it so I can get from trail to trail in my area here. And it's pretty much my go-to dual sport bike. And the next bike here is my 2005 XR650R that I picked up back in 2018 when I was looking for a dual sport bike. And huge selling point with this one was the title was already transferred over to a motorcycle title, and it was only an hour for me in Ohio, so I went out and looked at it and bought it on the spot pretty much. Really good price too. The guy I bought it from was really cool. He actually drove it to my house, put it on his truck, and drove it to my house because I didn't have a truck at the time to bring it back. I was just going to try to put a down payment on it just so he can hold it until I get it the next day because I knew it was going to be gone soon. So this one was a pretty low hour bike too. It had the original tires on it, like my 2001 XR 400, and had the original handguard still on it, and very little wear on the clutch cover. Usually that's where you see a lot of the paint worn off from the boot. It had very little of that too. So I knew it wasn't ridden that much. So I got it, and I've been having a blast on this bike ever since. It's a handful in the woods, but when you get out in the open stuff or big hills, big open stuff, it's a blast. Next one you see here is an 81 Honda Z50 that I didn't have to do anything to this bike when I got it. It was pretty much all the way restored. The guy I bought it off of, he was known in his neighborhood for fixing up people's lawnmowers and anything gas power related, pretty much. So somebody mentioned it to him that they had this sitting in their shed. An older lady had it, and it was sitting there for years. And he bought it, did a full resto on it, and then I picked it up. My brother had an 86 Z50, so I kind of wanted to get something to remember that bike because that was a fun bike to put around on. Next up, got this 1974 Honda XL 175. Did the Vermont trick on this so I can ride it around streets locally here. Didn't need much when I got it, just needed some turn signals and some elbow grease. Here's another bike I did the Vermont trick on to make it street legal. Didn't have any titles or anything, but this one's a 74 XL 350. I'll put some pictures up of what this looked like when I first got it. Actually bought it from the same gentleman that I got the 175 from. Tyke, if you're watching, thanks again. But this one came not running. The 175 was running, but this one was not. And it had this crazy yellow 70s paint job on it. So I got the thing cleaned up, running, repainted everything, did everything in pretty much backyard rattle can work. And the tank came out a lot better than I expected it would. And the bike runs great, so this one's one of my favorites for just putting around town. And next up, I got my 76 Honda TL250 trials bike. Planning on doing some trials events, some vintage trials events with this in the near future, hopefully. I just got to get the suspension sorted out and fixed. There's a small fuel leak in the tank. I just got to get that fixed up, and it should be good to go. This one here is a 1977 XL 125. I purchased this from the same guy that sold me the TL250, and I don't actually have this one anymore. I ended up selling it to Ken Kaplan from Kaplan Cycles this past summer at Vintage Days in Mid-Ohio. And this one didn't need a whole lot either. It was pretty ratty looking when I got it. Needed some heavy elbow grease and a seat cover, carburetor work. Just a whole lot of basic stuff. The fuel tank was really clean already on the inside, so I didn't need to do much there. So it's just a matter of getting it cleaned up and looking nice. And it was nice enough for Ken, so it was cool to work with him at Vintage Days and sell him this bike. But this was a good little bike that I had, fun for putting around, just local trails and taking it easy on the road. And continuing on with the Hondas here, I had this 81 XL 500S that I literally pulled out of a guy's barn last year. It was really crusty. It was sitting for over 20 years, and ended up getting it running pretty good, and sold it to a gentleman out at the Vintage Days swap meet this past summer. But this one was a fun bike. It was really good on the road. It got off the speed real good. Geared real tall, but it still handled the woods pretty well too. As I just recently put a video up of this of some trail riding that I did with it before I sold it. But this was a great bike. And if you can't tell that I like Hondas yet, here's another one for you. This one's a 2002 Honda XR200 that I recently picked up. I haven't had a chance to dig into this one yet, but it'll be up pretty soon on the channel. But from what I gathered from the previous owner, it sounds like one of the valves got bent. So I'll have to tear into that, see what it needs. But I've been keeping an eye out for XR200s for a while. They're kind of hard to find at decent prices, but this one was at a good price, obviously, because it wasn't running. But I used to have an 87 XR200, so I kind of wanted to relive those days with that bike for a little bit and get it going. And so stay tuned. This one will be up pretty soon on the channel. And here's another Honda for you. This one's a 74 MT250 that I have yet to get into as well. This one I picked up at Vintage Days this past year at the swap meet. And the gentleman I got this from, he provided me with the engine seals and the ignition kit and some other parts that it's going to need. So everything is there. I just got to tear into it, and hopefully it'll be pretty soon, because this one I've kind of neglected. It's kind of sitting in the corner waiting for attention here. So stay tuned. It'll be up pretty soon, hopefully. So that's going to do it for the Hondas for now. I'm going to turn my attention to the Yamahas I got here. And the first one's going to be my 1975 DT250B that I picked up about a year and a half ago. A friend of mine said that someone was getting rid of it from his work and only wanted $100 for it, so I couldn't pass that up, so I jumped on it. And that's actually the bike that inspired me to do a channel, because once I got that running, really had a good time with just getting it going, finding the parts, taking it down to the frame, getting it back, just a backyard restoration. It was more of a partial restoration than anything. But I had such a good time doing it that it inspired my channel. So this bike here is probably the one that kickstarted Garage the Trail. And the next Yamaha you see here is a 72 DT2 that I got last year. It was I've had it about a year now, but this one had all kind of electrical issues. coil was all cut up. I had to solder some wires up for that. I had to go through the points, get new points, and also the stator was a little bit gunky, so I had to go through that. But it runs good now, and it just needed some elbow grease like a lot of these bikes do. And this one's probably going to be a keeper. I like this one a lot. And this one here's another one I picked up at the Vintage Days swap meet this past year. This one's a 1974 DT360A. Has a custom yellow paint job, and didn't run when I got it. It was missing some parts for the carburetor, like the slide and needle and stuff. So I ended up finding some parts for that. I had to piece it together online, and got it running. And I have it completely torn down to the frame right now. My buddy who fixed my XR400's frame, he's actually welding on the tab for the kickstand, and he completely blasted the frame. I'm going to repaint that, and it's going to be pretty solid when I get it back. Actually, it's going to be really solid. So looking forward to getting this one back together. I only got to ride this one a couple times before I tore it down, so it had a ton of torque and fun to ride. So looking forward to getting this back, and stay tuned for this one too, guys. This next one here is a 1975 DT125. I found this one this past year locally for a really good price. Doesn't run. Sounds like it might need some top end work, because when you turn the engine over, it doesn't seem real smooth. So I don't know if the piston's trash or the rings are stuck or something, but still got to get into this one. So it's in queue, so stay tuned for this one, guys. It'll be up on the channel here soon. And here's another DT250B that I found just recently. This one was in the last month. I found this one actually locally. This one is a completely original 250B. It's got 2,000 miles on it. Hasn't run in a long time. It looks like the last time it was registered was 1985. So this one's in queue to get looked at here soon too. But I don't think it's going to need much. The previous owner did think that it needed a top end, but like I said, I haven't had even a chance to do a compression test on it. But the engine does turn over, and it turns over pretty smooth and feels like it's got pretty decent compression. So it might not even need that. But we'll dig into this eventually too. So stay tuned for this one as well. And this next Yamaha you see here is actually not mine. It's my brother's TW200 that I recently did a video on it this past summer. Just a riding video. But I'll probably do some more on it, because that one got a lot of views. And I know there's a cult following with these bikes. And it was fun to ride. So I plan on doing some more on this. So stay tuned for that one as well. And this 1975 Harley-Davidson SX250 you see here is not actually my bike either. I've just been doing some work on it for a friend of mine. Still got some stuff left to do to it, just waiting for parts to come in and this and that. And we're going to continue on with this project here pretty soon too, but I just wanted to include it on here since it's been on the channel recently. And I recently got into trials bikes too, so I picked up this 2011 Sherco ST290. And had it on the channel a couple times. Not really anything to work on yet, but I will be tearing into the motor, doing a top end probably. I got a clutch to do, and fork seals and stuff. But I'm thinking on taking it down to the frame at some point, maybe not this winter, and getting that over to my friend Matt to weld up a few little tabs that were some hairline cracks on for some of the mounting tabs. Nothing major, but stuff I want to address at some point, obviously. But yeah, there's going to be some videos on this bike here at some point too, with some engine work. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up the garage tour. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button with the bell to be alerted for whenever I do get around to some of these projects that I showed you. Some of these haven't been on the channel yet, so make sure you hit that. Leave me comments, any suggestions, and likes as always too. So we'll see you in the next video. Thanks again, guys.